And we back. Welcome to another episode of Gene of AI. Today we're analyzing episode 3. Let's get into it. So I believe the biggest question in this episode is, what is the heart? And should AI be considered to have hearts? Or I guess souls, in my opinion, is a literal word they want to say. So we have Shizuka in this first episode, and she has a lease on these robots from this company called Industrial AI, and they essentially aren't treated the same as regular AI. I guess you could say that these industrial AI are just robots. They're built not having hearts. They can be sold, and profit is made by having these robots quite literally satisfying Shizuka's emotional and physical needs, but not her spiritual or intellectual. And that's just my opinion, because you see it in AI that come out today. They don't literally, I guess they're more so language models like ChatGPT, but they don't comment on spirituality or make any sort of intellectual conversations or opinions for some odd reason. It's not quite clear as to what the heart is. This episode just begs the question. I believe when you come to the answer, tell the audience as to why this society is built the way it is. Will our society ever come to a point where some people won't be considered to have hearts because of the way their brain is wired up? And because quite literally that's what they do to these robots. And because Joe can't satisfy her, in my opinion, that's why she ends up dating a man, even though he won't fully satisfy her physical and emotional needs. There's those extra 2 layers where you can connect to a human being on a spiritual and intellectual level. So in spite of all the technological advances that's going on in this world, there's still limitations as to how complex the hearts are built, or not their hearts, but how complex they can get. And I don't know if they did that because of their moral standpoints, but they specifically built these robots to not have hearts, and in this sense not have the spiritual and intellectual levels of thinking. So did they do that because they don't want humans to start paying to be with these robots? Joe says all memories vanish with time, and whenever he's returned back to this bus that picks up the Joe robot, they clear his memory and it's able to be restored again after a certain amount of time. But if not, the memories are just gone and they're not recoverable. They try to draw a parallel with Joe and how that robot is built to humans. Some memories do vanish with time, if you let them anyway. I believe humans like to cope and distract themselves and make them forget certain, most often bad memories, by having their physical and emotional needs met. And in this case, it's with industrial AI. So in the second half of this episode, we have Ken, and he has a toy that his parents bought him. It's a hand-me-down, but they bought it used, and Ken doesn't have that many friends, and so they bought him this toy. It has, I believe it's the same thing, it's a robot. I don't believe it's considered an AI, but it literally shows so many different behaviors that is akin to having a heart. For example, whenever Ken runs away with Popo and he falls asleep on the side, and humans are literally ignoring this child, and Popo runs around, or walks around, he can't run. He walks around asking people for help, and they're ignoring him. No one's listening to this robot, and no one is paying any attention to this little boy that's on the side of the road, which is crazy to me. Popo ends up getting run over. The mother, of course, finds the child. They get Popo repaired again. The mother, after a while of seeing the relationship that Ken develops with Popo, doesn't like it because he's foregoing the human relationships that he could be having with other people, because the mother doesn't believe that, in my opinion, I believe the mother doesn't believe that Popo is worth effort in investing his time into him being Ken, because it's a robot. She wants to limit his interaction with Ken and doesn't want him to become too emotionally attached and invested because it is a robot. But this same robot literally gave up its body or life trying to protect Ken. And when she realized this, she literally took back her opinion that robots don't have hearts or souls. I'll put the quote up here on what she said. I guess the question I came to is that who's really more human? What creates the human heart? Is it kindness whenever it comes to someone else that's in need? In this case, it was Ken whenever he was on the side of the road and none of the humans paid him any attention. But Popo, who isn't a human, granted he's built to give him the attention, that's how he's programmed, but like, humans should quite naturally have that programmed in them, and if not, it's sad if they don't. And if humans don't have that natural instinct to help people, as opposed to Popo who does, should they be considered to have a heart? Or should Popo be considered to be more human than the people who ignored Ken? Also, remember when Joe said memories vanish with time? Well, remember when I said in the previous episode how two parts of the episode go hand in hand with each other? So Popo, remember he's a hand-me-down, and they don't just give, I guess, getting a used phone, they clear the memory and then give it to the next customer. But with Popo, it's kind of like how on a hard drive in a computer, even though you wipe it, there are still remnants of previous data on that hard drive. And in some cases, it's possible to recover that data. And it's even more apparent in this episode with Popo, where remnants of his previous owner, what was her name? I'll put her name up here. He made a promise to see her, and you go find out that, well, she's no longer part of this world and she passed away. But him making that promise to her, of all the things that he could remember from his previous owner, he remembered to at least come and see her, even though she passed away. That sounds a lot like something that a human would do, right? There's no logical reason as to why, even after a memory wipe, a robot will want to see its previous owner. I don't know about y'all, but I believe that's something more akin to what a human heart would do. So, is it really true? Do memories really vanish with time, or is it like a tattoo on the heart? Shout out to Ariana Grande. Do the most important experiences in our lives, the good and the bad, get tattooed on our hearts, and we end up not forgetting them, truly. Leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all stay hydrated.